February 24th, 2010 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Barker. Here. Chairman Cassetti.
Here.
Mr. Colby. Here. Mr. Haney. Present. Mr. Howland. Here. Mr. Hyder is excused. Mr. O'Brien. Here.
Okay. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
No, sir.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up who would like to address the committee at this time? I know it. Okie doke. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the January 27, 2009 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. I think that might be a typo. It says January 27th. It should be January 2010 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 10-0061.
Moved by Legislator Barker, seconded by Legislator Howland. Any discussion? Legislator O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And through you, just one question. I understand that if we don't go forward and make arrangements to have the third elephant added, that our accreditation with AZA, we would be out of compliance by 2013. And I'm wondering if we could just get a brief explanation of what the consequences of not being accredited might be. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, would that mean that we'd have to not have elephants, for example, or?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the consequences of not being an accredited zoo through AZA would be quite dire. There are currently 213 accredited zoos in North America out of 2,500 licensed animal holders and exhibitors. So we are among the elite. You are either accredited or you are not accredited. There aren't different levels of accreditation. So we have the same accreditation as, say, the Bronx Zoo or the San Diego Zoo. So it is quite an impressive thing to have. What that allows us to have access to is animals to exhibit, such as the African elephants that we hold. We're the only exhibitor of African elephants in the state of New York at Seneca Park Zoo. We are part of the species survival program through the AZA for different endangered species, such as African elephants, such as polar bears. We're the #3 breeder in North America for African penguins. So not being a member of AZA, not being accredited by AZA, would then say to the rest of the country that we are not among those zoos that are worthy of that accreditation, but also that we would be at risk of losing the animals that we do have in those programs where we acquired the animals through the species survival program, such as, most recently, our male polar bear, which we acquired from the Milwaukee Zoo through the species survival program. If we were not accredited, we would have to send him back to Milwaukee.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, just as a follow-up, I gather that a large part of the accreditation process is ensuring that the conditions we have are appropriate for the animals, and they're saying that the third elephant is part of the standard of care that you'd want to provide for elephants. Have I got that about right?
Absolutely right, Mr. Chairman. They not only look at the standard of care for animals, they also look at your visitor experience, your educational model. They look at everything that you do, down to the type of food that you serve.
Thank you very much.
Legislator Colby.
Thank you. I assume the remainder cost of this project would have to come back before this legislature after the engineering is done?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that would be an optional submission, since it would probably be put out through public bid. And once a capital budget is identified and voted on by the legislature, it's at the administration's option as to whether to send it to the legislature after it's been publicly bid.
Would we have to bond, would you be bonding for that money?
Yes.
Then the bond
So
would
you
have
would
to-
approve the bonds?
Yes.
Legislator Haney?
Mr. Chairman, I certainly have nothing against improving the social life of the elephants, but I guess in these very
I sense a but coming.
well, certainly not the elephants. In these difficult financial times, I just find it a little difficult. It sounds a little frivolous to be spending money on this. But I guess what I understand from your answer to Mr. O'Brien's questions is that we really don't have any choice in the matter. Well, there's a choice, but it would mean losing the accreditation and all that entails.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this has been part of the accreditation principles since 2005. We've received waivers since then because we were in a reproductive mode with our elephants, trying to increase the herd through reproduction. So we've been granted waivers since then. Now we're at the point where neither of our females are at reproductive age, so this accreditation principle kicks in. So I would say that we've been allowed to get by for 5 years without having to do this. The other thing that I would point out is when the county constructed the current elephant barn in that area, the plan always was to have room for 3 elephants. As you recall, the reason we built that was we were expecting a 3rd elephant to come along from reproduction. So it was always our intention to add this 3rd pen and enclosure. So I would say that back when we originally built it, we were being fiscally responsible by not putting it in at the time and saving money at that end, and looking to whether that elephant was a male or a female, because you'd have to design a different type of pen and enclosure inside. So we were looking at it from a fiscally responsible standpoint at that point. Now we're at the point where we either have to accommodate a 3rd elephant or risk losing our accreditation, as you pointed out.
Is this the kind of thing that it would be reasonable to be asking the Seneca Zoological Society to be raising the funds for? I mean, they're supposed to be doing some of the capital improvements down there, or paying for some of the capital improvements, aren't they?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's an excellent question, and I agree with you on that, Mr. Haney. But when we did set out to construct the African exhibit, the county took on the responsibility of the elephant barn and the costs associated with that, and the Zoo Society took on the responsibility of the other exhibits surrounding the barn. So we put in the $4.3 million at the time to construct the barn and the exhibit, and the society has been on the hook for anything else. They have paid for the elephant pool that was put in, raised the money to put it in. They have raised the money to put in the baboon exhibit, and they're currently in a capital fundraising drive to raise $4 million to bring lions back to that area of the African exhibit. So I think that it's a good partnership.
Have they fulfilled all the obligations that they set out for in the zoo master plan?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, I would say that they have.
Okay. Have we explored around the country a number of zoos, even though they're labeled the San Diego Zoo or the Buffalo Zoo or the Bronx Zoo? They're actually run by private not-for-profit organizations. In fact, I think the Buffalo Zoo is run by private not-for-profit, and I'm not sure about Syracuse, whether that one is or not, but I know San Diego is, and the Bronx Zoo is et cetera. And it seems that it's a model that works. Have we pursued with the Zoological Society having them, quite frankly, take over the entire operation of the place? All of the model that we have with the Museum and Science Center, I mean, the model that we have with the museum and the Science Center seems to work very well. We committed basically to giving them $900,000 a year many years ago. And while I'm sure they'd like to see an inflation factor, they've lived with the flat $900,000. And I think the not-for-profits find that they have more success raising private philanthropic dollars when it's not, quote, a government entity, end of quote, because there's certain people that don't like to give money to government operations, et cetera. Would it be logical to pursue a different operating model for the Seneca Park Zoo, and in which we, as was done with the Museum and Science Center, I mean, it's so long ago, people forget that that was a public facility at one time. But would it be logical to pursue moving the Seneca Park Zoo in the same direction, which I perceive could have two benefits? It could cap our expenditures, and I think they might have more luck raising money. Am I all wet, or?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, Mr. Haney, I wouldn't say that you're all wet. But at this point in time, we have looked at it as each time that we renew our agreement with the Zoo Society, this issue comes up. I would say at this point in time, we are not there yet. The county currently provides $2.5 million a year in support of the zoo. I think Mr. Adair is calling you, Mr. Haney.
Tell him I'm out to lunch.
It's the bat phone.
Okay. So the county currently provides $2.5 million in support to the Seneca Park Zoo, which is an awful big nut to crack. If the Zoo Society took on a larger role. I don't think that they're at that point where they would be able to. Those other institutions that you pointed out, San Diego Zoo, Bronx Zoo, Buffalo Zoo, they still do get a significant contribution from the local government. I think that the model that we have with the county allows us to retain a certain amount of control over what goes on at the zoo, since it is primarily taxpayer monies that are funding the activities there. And I would be uncomfortable with the county contributing that amount of money and losing control over the operations there.
Yeah. I'm certainly not suggesting that we pull the $2.5 million out.
Right.
But it just seems that if it was theirs, we could say, okay, you've got $2.5 million, it's yours. Mm-hmm. They could privatize the place, obtain what are frequently considered the advantages of privatization, and we would be spared the inflationary impact over the years. But whatever.
We're still on the hook for quite a bit of capital expenses, as you see with this, and as you'll see in coming months, that it's an old zoo. We continue to have to make major expenditures there to improve our exhibits and to keep them up to snuff with the AZA, and just from our visitor standpoint, I think that it would be difficult to do that with the type of zoo we have and with the capacity that the Zoo Society has.
The original building was a WPA project during the Depression, wasn't it?
No, it was pre-WPA.
Oh,
We've
really?
researched that.
Okay.
Because different things kick in with that, and we'd have to, if it was a WPA, we couldn't just knock it down if we wanted to. But that building is crumbling, so there's another example of the type of zoo we have right now.
All set, Mr. Haney? Is there any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Referral 10-0063.
Moved by Legislator Colby, seconded by Legislator Howland. Any discussion? Legislator Colby.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, is there a list or that has been developed of the type of green projects or lead projects or whatever you want to call them that are included in the design factors of this building or remodification?
Through the chair, Jason Kennedy with DES's Engineering and Facilities Management Group. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm not sure I understood.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, I'm asking, this is going to get some kind of LEED certification. To get that, you have to change some of the building standards that you would use maybe than normal. Do you have a list of what type projects are going to make this qualified for LEED? And the cost that's associated with those?
Through the chair, I don't have a specific list of all of the changes that the building is going to undergo to meet the LEED requirements. I can tell you that the building is slated to receive LEED Silver certification, and as such, it is required to meet certain sustainability performance characteristics in the 5 key areas mentioned in the referral, being human and environmental services, sustainability, water savings, energy, and material selection. Some of the things that the building are, I think we're looking at energy system. The energy systems in the building are certainly LEED certifiable. So I'd refer to the mechanical systems and some of the other various upgrades. I'd be happy to get a specific list if there was something in particular that you were interested in, but it's all of the above things that are referenced in the referral that lead to, according to the U.S. Green Building Council, the LEED Silver certification.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would like that list. I guess I'm concerned, like I have been on other projects, of some of the payback periods of some of these LEED type design factors that have no respect, in my opinion, for the cost to benefit ratio. And so I guess I have some concern that I would like to look at those in some fashion. I mean, I understand if you're going to put in new air conditioners and heaters to go another 2 or 3% and get more efficient motors is money well spent, and I encourage those type of things totally. But some of those LEED projects that we have improved in the past have been very questionable in my mind. And I just like some kind of assurance of what there are in there, for I know what we're getting. So I don't know how you want to develop a list, but that's the type of subject matter I'm looking for.
Through the chair, we'd be happy to provide that list. I could elaborate briefly. This is phase 2 of the Building 9 project.
I understand that.
And as such, there was the Walk Nursing School addition, and the phase 1, and there was a bulk of the LEED work. LEED certification occurred in phase 1, and the energy savings for phase 1 are estimated on the order of about $50,000. So certainly we'll get that very same information for Phase 2, and we can give you specific examples of where the lead.
Just telling me the cost savings doesn't really tell me anything, because if you say $50,000, if it costs you $50 million to save $55,000, it doesn't make sense. So just telling me the cost savings really doesn't tell me nothing.
Through the chair, I understand certainly there's payback periods associated with that, and we'd be happy to get you that list.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Haney.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of the low bidders, the general construction and the plumbing construction, are from outside Monroe County, and at least I have never heard of them, which really doesn't mean anything. But are we satisfied that the responsible low bidders, have they ever done any work for Monroe County or in the Rochester area?
Through the chair, yes, I believe you referred to Pepe Construction as the general contractor.
Right.
They're actually a Buffalo-based firm. They do about $20 million of work annually, predominantly in the academic school-type work. Apparently, they do have a Finger Lakes Community College project going on right now, so they are familiar with a collegiate environment. And apparently, they've expanded into the Rochester market, if you will, simply pursuing work.
Okay.
And yes, we are satisfied with their credentials and that they're a responsible low bidder.
And the same would go for Unified Mechanical Contractors, which is a Geneva company, I believe?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Through the chair, Unified has done work with the county previously. Pepe, however, has not.
Okay. The list of bidders is probably the longest list that I've seen on any referral, at least in the 4 years that I've been here. Is that because of the current state of the construction industry, that people are really hungry and trying? People that ordinarily wouldn't bid are bidding on projects?
Through the chair, yes, I think that's a fair statement, that we're receiving very competitive bids, and the number of prospective bidders is certainly larger than we've seen in the past.
Okay. With so many bidders, have we come in, how do the low bids compare to what the architectural and engineering estimates for the projects were?
Through the chair, the net total for the 4 prime contracts is roughly 28% lower than the engineer's estimate, so they're very competitive.
28% lower?
Through the chair, that's correct.
And I assume that's also indicative of the construction situation. Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? There being no further business, the February 24th, 2010 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee is adjourned. The next committee will convene March 24th, 2010 at 4:30 p.m. Thank you.